Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Saturday Morning Storytime Live. If you tuned in and suddenly I was gone, or you were wondering why we're 3 or 4 minutes late, it always works better when you have the microphone and it's turned on. So, luckily, I realized that straight away and had to go out, come back in, redo everything. But here we go. So, I'm going to play the opening and then I'm going to come back. I'm going to read two short poems. Last week, Lewis Carroll's Hunting the Snark. Angus did a terrific job. People really loved it, but it was quite long. It was almost a half an hour, as a matter of fact. So I have two quick poems for you this morning or whenever you're watching this in your day. And it's two that are thematically linked. One is Casey at the Bat. I'm going to read that second, the famous poem about a man swinging a bat to overcome tremendous odds and win one for the home team. The first one that I'm going to start with is John Henry and the Hammer, swinging a hammer to beat a machine. It's all about manual labor versus industrialization, and it's a wonderful story. So let's go with the opening that Tanya created for me that I love so much, and I'll come back and read these poems. And just as fast as that, we're back. So promise you a quick session this morning. It is 20 degrees here, folks, with 3 inches of snow on the ground. I don't know if you got walloped with snow too. Well, not that 3 inches is walloping, but we were getting a little bit used to spring. That'll learn us. So anyway, this version of John Henry and the Hammer is actually anonymous. The poet it goes like this. It has a wonderful rhyming scheme. When John Henry was a little tiny baby sitting on his mama's knee, he picked up a hammer and a little piece of steel, saying, "Hammer's gonna be the death of me, Lord, Lord. Hammer's gonna be the death of me." John Henry was a man just 6 feet high, nearly 2.5 feet across his breast. He'd hammer with a 9-pound hammer all day and never get tired and want to rest, Lord, Lord, and never get tired and want to rest. John Henry went up on the mountain and he looked one eye straight up its side. The mountain was so tall and John Henry was so small. He laid down his hammer and he cried, "Lord, Lord." He laid down his hammer and he cried. John Henry said to his captain, "Captain, you go to town. Bring me back a 12-pound hammer, please, and I'll beat that steam drill down, Lord, Lord. I'll beat that steam drill down." Well, the captain said to Henry, "I believe this mountain's sinking in." But John Henry said, "Captain, just you stand aside. It's nothing but my hammer catching wind, Lord, Lord. It's nothing but my hammer catching wind." John Henry said to his shaker, "Shaker, boy, you better start to pray, because if my 12-pound hammer missed that little piece of steel, tomorrow will be your burying day, Lord, Lord. Tomorrow will be your burying day." John Henry said to his captain, "A man is nothing but a man, but before I let your steam drill beat me down, I'll die with a hammer in my hand, Lord, Lord. I die with a hammer in my hand." The man that invented the steam drill, he figured he was mighty high and fine, but John Henry sunk the steel down 14 feet, while the steam drill only made 9, Lord, Lord. The steam drill only made 9. John Henry hammered on the right-hand side, steam drill driving on the left. John Henry beat that steam drill down, but he hammered his poor heart to death, Lord, Lord. He hammered his poor heart to death. Well, they carried John Henry down the tunnel and they laid his body in the sand. Now every woman riding on a C&O train says, "There lies my steel-driving man, oh Lord, Lord, there lies my steel driving man." It's a good poem. It's a good poem. This one, Casey at the Bat, very famous. There's been cartoons and all kinds of wonderful things for Casey. It was written by Ernest Lawrence Thayer, and he lived between the years of 1863, so the middle section of the Civil War, to 1940, just before the onset of World War II. So kind of lived within and sort of between mostly the wars, though he did have World War I, right? So anyway, here we go. Casey at the Bat, and I'm going to put a little accent on this, I think. The outlook wasn't brilliant for the Mudville Nine that day. The score stood 4-2 with but what inning more to play. And then when Cooney died at first and Barrows did the same, a pall-like silence fell upon the patrons of the game. A straggling few got up to go in deep despair. The rest clung to the hope which springs eternal in the human breast. They thought if only Casey could but get a whack at that, we'd put up even money now with Casey at the bat. But Flynn preceded Casey, as did also Jimmy Blake. Now the former was a hoodoo, while the latter was a cake. So upon that stricken multitude grim melancholy sat, for there seemed but little chance of Casey getting to the bat. But Flynn let drive a single to the wonderment of all, and Blake the much despised tore the cover off the ball. And when the dust had lifted and the men saw what had occurred, there was Jimmy safe at second and Flynn a hugging third. Then from 5,000 throats and more there rose a lusty yell. It rumbled through the valley, it rattled in the dale, it pounded on the mountain and recalled upon the flat. For Casey, mighty Casey, was advancing to the bat. There was ease in Casey's manner as he stepped into his place. There was pride in Casey's bearing, and a smile lit Casey's face. And when responding to the cheers, he lightly doffed his hat. No stranger in the crowd could doubt, was Casey at the bat. 10,000 eyes were on him as he rubbed his hands with dirt. 5,000 tongues applauded when he wiped them on his shirt. Then while the writhing pitcher ground the ball into his hip, defiance flashed in Casey's eye. A sneer curled Casey's lip. And now the leather-covered sphere came hurling through the air, and Casey stood a-watching it in haughty grandeur there. Close by the sturdy batsman, the ball unheeded sped. "That ain't my style," said Casey. "Strike one," the umpire said. From the benches, black with people, there went up a muffled roar, like the beating of the storm waves on a stern and distant shore. "Kill him! Kill the umpire!" shouted someone on the stand, and it likely they'd have killed him if Casey hadn't raised his hand. With a smile of Christian charity, great Casey's visage shone. He stilled the rising tumult, and he bade the game go on. He signaled to the pitcher, and once more the dun sphere flew. But Casey still ignored it, and the umpire said, "Strike two!" "Fraud!" cried the maddling crowd, and it echoed, answered, "Fraud, fraud, fraud, fraud." But one scornful look from Casey, and the audience was awed. They saw his face grow stern and cold. They saw his muscles strain, and they knew that Casey wouldn't let that ball go by again. The sneer's gone from Casey's lip. His teeth are clenched in hate. He pounds with cruel violence his bat upon the plate. And now the pitcher holds the ball, and now he lets it go, and now the air is shattered by the force of Casey's blow. Oh, somewhere in this favored land the sun is shining bright. The band is playing somewhere. Somewhere hearts are light. And somewhere men are laughing, and somewhere some children shout. But there is no joy in Mudville. Mighty Casey has struck out. Well, that's all I have for you this morning. I haven't decided what I'm going to do next week. The week after, I'm part of a big event. It's a big book launch for a book called Katie on Broadway. Being an old musical theater guy, I was more than happy to do this when I was asked, "Hey, can we send you the book? Can you read it, review it?" So I'll be reading it, reviewing it, doing a reading here in a couple weeks. Just a couple comments. Want to make sure. Hello, Angela. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. Everybody stay warm in the cold. I think it's just a temporary thing before spring really starts to come on. I think we all need it. My 20 garlic plants survived the winter, and they're doing well. I'm excited to get back out to the campfire and all. So that's all. So be well, take care, and I'll see you next